Good morning. Good morning. Facebook is slow. Good morning, Facebook. How are you doing? It's Kirsten Liebelt. Jump on in. It's Tuesday. It must be 11 a.m. Central Standard Time because this is what we do Monday through Friday, right? All right, jump on in. We're going to talk about insulin resistance again today. This is the whole universe of what we do. If you have never seen my content before, will you put a 1 in the comments? It helps me to know who is catching content and who is not. We've been doing this for over a year. Like it was a year in February. So then March, April, May. So like 15 months. Like we've been doing this for 15 months. And the group Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women, 2 years. I started 2 years ago in June. So what do you think of that? Isn't that amazing? Like time just goes by. It just does. So I would love to know who has never seen any of my content before. My background, for any of y'all that want to know, I was raised in an Italian home, shocker, that had a lot of obesity and type 2 diabetes. My dad died at 63 from type 2 diabetes, and he did it all. Like he didn't miss a thing. He had the heart surgeries and the pacemaker and the kidney dialysis, and he was injecting insulin. And I mean, he did it all. My mom had said after he passed that he was getting close to having some amputations, probably of toes, maybe. And he was only 63, you guys. So this is very, very authentically near and dear to my heart. And that's why I share. Good morning, Magda and Patty. Hey, Magda, thank you for that that reel from Dr. Eric Berg. I forgot to actually tape it out, but thank you very much for that information. That was very helpful. I should probably do a live on that information. In my own journey, you know, I was bribed at about 11 years old to lose weight. Does anybody resonate with this? I was about 11 years old. I was bribed. I'm trying to think if it was with a puppy. It might have been with a puppy. Does anybody resonate with being bribed at a young age like that? And then, you know, of course, to us, the average of, you know, person in America back in, you know, if I'm 11, that means that it was 1976. So in 1976, you know, we weren't thinking, oh, you must be overweight because of insulin resistance and there's type 2 diabetes in your family and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's thinking that way at all. Everything was only ever genetic, and you just, whatever the doctor says, they're giving you the right and the good information, and you should definitely take all of those scripts. You should definitely do all of that. But there was nothing else other than that. So in my home, my mother had been told, isn't this brilliant, that ice cream was a really, really good source of calcium. So we never didn't have one of those big honking tubs of ice cream in our freezer. To anybody else, you know, when a gallon was actually a gallon, and you know, a half a gallon was actually a half a gallon before they changed all of the sizes. But we would have one of the big plastic containers in our freezer at all times. So that maybe gives you a little tiny insight into my world. Plus, my mother was a phenomenal baker. My dad had owned restaurants here in Minneapolis. Gosh, I wasn't planning on sharing this with you today, but here I go. I'm just going to share a little bit. So my dad was a restaurateur in Minneapolis. And so he owned Italian restaurants when I was a little girl. And the very last one that he owned is the one that I remember the most, right? Because I was maybe right around 9, 10, 11. Look at that correlation. And it was a cafe, and my mother did the baking. So she would get up really early in the morning, and she would go down to the cafe, and she would make homemade pies and caramel rolls, etc. And she obviously would make them at our home to test and whatever. And I will never, ever forget standing in the kitchen, you know, the pull-out cutting boards, you know, and when your eyes are right around that level. And she had the 9x13 aluminum pan, and she would make the caramel rolls. And of course, all the caramels in the bottom. So when she flips it up, side down, it like oozes over the sides of the caramel. And we were constantly like, because it was amazing. But that's how I was raised, with good food from both my mama and from my dad. I mean, we didn't have a chance. So by the time I hit 22 and I get married and then I'm pregnant, my first baby, 9 pounds, 13 ounces. I mean, hello, welcome to childbearing. Oh my gosh. But I was gestational diabetic, and you grow really big babies, don't you? Any of you that know You've been gestational diabetic, you grow big babies. So that's what happened. And then when my daughter came along, of course, then it was mandatory for me to do the long glucose tests, like the 4-hour ones where you drink a copious amount of disgust and then they test your blood every 30 minutes or whatever. I can't remember. But with her, I was opposite. I was hypoglycemic, but they're both sides of the exact same coin. Metabolic dysfunction, body not working quite right. It was that young that this was showing up with me. Okay. And then I didn't do anything about it until my upper 40s because, wisdom prevailed. Just kidding. Not. And my mom wouldn't leave me alone about my sugars because when I was 30, my dad died. So my mom's like, hello, anybody home? Like, do you ever even go to the doctor and get your sugars checked? What's going on? Like, do you know where they are? And truest story ever, to appease my mother and to make her stop bugging me, I started supplementation to help with sugars, even though I was too afraid to go to the doctor. So I was assessing myself, wise, but I was assessing myself just like my dad assessed himself. How are the sores on my legs healing? Am I peeing too much? Am I drinking too much? That was my life with a home with type 2 diabetes. And I didn't want to go to the doctor. So I started to supplement, never having done it before. Wasn't my wheelhouse at all. My supplementation was ibuprofen, or I've always said it before, Metabolife, which is like, you could get it in Walmart. And in my 30s, it was like, hey, legal speed, you just take that and so you can speed up your metabolism. You know what I'm talking about. It was banned because of the ephedra, blah, blah, blah. You understand. So I'm like, okay, fine. It's easy enough. I can take some supplements. Here, Mom, look at what I'm doing. And she was like, she was not a supplementer. I was not raised to think about that at all. So I was not raised to be a granola person. If that's the only term I can come up with, if you guys can come up with a better term than granola person, tell me, because I really honestly would like a better way to describe that. But I wasn't somebody who was thinking about eating clean or exercising or supplementing. I didn't do any of this. None. Like, let's take a nap. Let's lay down. Let's like cozy up in the sun on the living room floor because we're so exhausted because our sugars are dysregulated. Like, that was me. So I didn't have plans to be here today a decade ago. This wasn't my plan, but boy, am I glad that this was my journey, because over the last 10 years, I have been able to, through the lens of insulin resistance, see how to finally lose weight. And I've lost 3 sizes in my 50s after my cycle stopped. I have completely avoided type 2 diabetes. I'm the only one in my immediate family that did. The only one, including my Swedish mother, who didn't have it in her history, ended up with type 3 dementia. And I'm not on any meds and I'm 60. So that was my little introduction for you. Okay. How is that? Good morning, Lori. Patty, you're totally fine. She says I spelled your name wrong. I didn't even notice, Patty. You're so good. How are you doing today? It's rainy Minnesota, isn't it? So let's jump in, because the last section of my dad's life was kidney dialysis. And I want to talk to you about the kidney connection. Somebody asked me this question this morning about one of the, when I talk about the fat burner, the orange pixie stick, how it targets visceral belly fat. She asked if that would help with the kidneys. And so I wanted to give her information that would serve her in that way, because the question really should be, right? I mean, I answered that for her because it helps with the visceral fat. So we're talking liver. She wanted to know kidney. Why then does insulin resistance affect kidney function? Why was my dad at the end of his journey on kidney dialysis? Why does this happen? And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, because so many people are not making all of these connections when literally everything is connected. You were so fearfully and wonderfully made, and you have to understand that the way that your body was meant to work with each other, you will then begin to maybe wake up like I did and go, then why are we treated in silos inside of the medical community? Why are we treated as though everything is disconnected and we need to go to another specialist and another specialist and another specialist in order to get another script and another script and another script? These are the questions I started asking after my dad died at 63. Lazy Susan full of medication. He didn't have cancer. So why is he dead? Like I know that's a naive thought. I know. I get it now. Because it's only been like what, 8 years since we've had Facebook Live? Possibly less, but let's say 8 years. This is very new, very, very infancy moment of having available to us alternative information at the drop of a hat, at the drop of a hat, at the drop of a hat. Somebody's going live, somebody posts a reel, the information is like right here now. But that's not how it was, right? Can you remember? It hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been around forever. And so when I started to actually wonder, so wait a second, you're telling me medicine, all of that medicine wasn't meant to actually help him? It was only meant to manage symptoms. It wasn't meant to turn anything back around. It wasn't meant to heal anything, or anything like that. That's what was going on. And then I went on this journey. Okay. I started asking, kind of almost like a little 2-year-old, why this, then that? Why this, then that? Why? And I wanted to understand, because again, my entire Italian family riddled with obesity and type 2 diabetes. Not a great picture of my future, potentially. And then when I found out, oh no, this is 100% reversible and it's in my control, I went, game on. Let's figure this out. Because I did not have grandbabies at the time, but I could see them in my mind's eye. This is only 10 years ago, you guys. I could see them. And I'm like, my mom and dad didn't babysit my kids. My mom and dad didn't get on the floor with my babies. My mom and dad didn't have the energy. My dad was exhausted all of the time until his heart took a dive. And then 6 months before we came home to see him, my son was born in January. In April, we were told his heart was at 15%. And when we visited in July, he died the week we were there. So his function went like this, all of his 50s. Can you imagine blowing your 50s like that because of disease that could have been turned back around? I fully believe that he could have turned it around. But it does come a point when it's too late, right? So late to the party, Terry. Come on in. You're good to go. You're good to go. So let's just talk about some kidney stuff here for a second. And let's see if we can't get you a little bit of information and a little bit of resourcing. And then you can get on with your day. How does that sound? So I talk a lot about insulin resistance and how it impacts your energy, your weight, and your hormones, which is completely true. Like insulin is a hormone. This is why we're so frustrated. I did a phone consult yesterday and it's the same conversation, right? Very, very similar. I go to the gym, I eat healthy. They told me everything was fine on my labs until all of a sudden, oh, I'm so sorry. You're type 2. I say this all the time, you guys, it's happening all the time. And it's because they're not checking the right markers. I mean, this is ridiculous. Come on. But it is what it is. And so we have to step in and become our own advocates. That's why you're here. Okay. But one of the most overlooked parts of this conversation is kidney health. I've had clients whose labs looked fine, just like I said, yet they were already showing early signs of kidney stress. And then when we addressed insulin resistance, that's when you can see improvement across the board, including kidney markers. Okay. So let's break it down into really simple terms and get this kind of in your brain so that you understand the connection. First of all, I want to go through, do I want to do that first? Okay, yeah, we'll do this first. Insulin resistance is actually what's happening is it's causing higher levels of circulating insulin and blood sugar. Okay, so higher levels of insulin and blood sugar. This is creating inflammation and oxidative stress. This is why you can feel the inflammation and you're really frustrated, and it damages the delicate blood vessels in your kidneys. Okay. Over time, this can lead to protein leakage, which is called proteinuria, that I didn't know the term before I was studying this, elevated creatine, we know this, or sorry, yeah, creatinine. It's not creatine, creatinine. I have to see it in my brain, and even chronic kidney disease. So like my mother, this is so interesting, you guys. I mean, as I look back now over their lives and their health span, I'm like, dang, if it's not all connected. Okay. And I don't have all the answers as I look back, but it just gives me some clues. So like 20 years before my mom died, she had kidney cancer, renal cancer, and she had one kidney taken out. And in that, she had to really watch her protein levels, right? And so it was we learned a lot just walking her through that journey. And we also learned to question well, because the information they were giving her was really bad for diet. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's very interesting as I look back over this now. So many people do not know that kidney damage is happening until it's progressed significantly. So here she was, Swedish, no type 2 in her family. She was the one that was never going to be type 2. She was the Swedish one. She wasn't the Italian one. I mean, that's kind of how we were raised to think, right? But it didn't matter because her diet was stinky. You know, her diet was just as carbohydrate filled and processed food filled and seed oil filled as everybody else, right? So it's not always genetics, right? Like I'm almost inclined to say it's not genetics, but I know that there's always components. Genetics, what does it say? Genetics loads the gun and your diet pulls the trigger. Your diet and your habits. So I'm going to go quickly down to here and see what, because I had done this. So insulin resistance doesn't just affect your blood sugar. It impacts how your body processes minerals. And that includes calcium, magnesium, and uric acid, all of which play a role in kidney stone formation. So sometimes because this isn't all about kidney stones, but kidney stones, people are like, well, how do I deal with my kidney stones? And they get all of this like vague external information. Oh, avoid this and do this and avoid this and do. But don't you want to understand why this happens so that you can avoid it? Like, has anybody said to you, like, well, your kidney stone issue is probably an insulin resistance issue? Who's saying that? I personally have never heard anybody say that. Okay. Here's the breakdown. A lower urine pH, more acidic, increases the risk of uric acid stones. Interestingly enough, when we talk about the gut primer, it has alkaline spices. You need to go from an acidic to an alkaline environment. Insulin resistance makes it harder for the kidneys to excrete uric acid properly. Okay. This is the whole gout conversation, you guys. Okay. Anyway, high insulin levels can cause calcium to be retained, which raises the risk for calcium oxalate stones. It also wastes magnesium. You're going to want to remember that sentence. Insulin resistance it wastes magnesium, which is protective against kidney stones, low magnesium, and higher stone risk. Okay. People with insulin resistance often have poor thirst signaling, leading to chronic mild dehydration, a top risk factor for stones. That's super interesting. Dehydration concentrates the urine, making stone formation more likely. Why is this happening? Well, oftentimes predicating the insulin resistance, high sugar, processed foods. That's how you're getting into the pickle to begin with. So fructose, like in soda, fruit juices, processed foods, raises uric acid, another major contributor to stones. A high carb, high oxalate diet common in insulin resistance can also be a trigger. So the bottom line to that is insulin resistance sets up the perfect storm for kidney stones. If you have somebody who needs to hear this information, please share it out with them. Share this with them so they can get some understanding as to how this is happening and what they can do about it. Okay. And always like make sure that you're like, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, double tap the screen on TikTok so that we can proliferate this information. So insulin resistance sets up that perfect storm: acidic urine, mineral imbalance, poor hydration, and elevated uric acid. Got it? Okay. Now let's go back. Hold on. What did that say? Okay. So now let's go back to the whole insulin resistance piece of the puzzle. So if you're wanting to actually support, the question that she gave me was, will the orange pixie stick that I talk about all the time, this is for the visceral fat, right? And it tastes like candy. It's amazing. And you take it for 90 days, once a day on your tongue. And it's it's a clinical dose of an extract that targets visceral fat. Okay. So it's literally helping to change your BMI ratio. Okay. Now, this is like a big deal. We've waited for science to do something like this. I'm just telling you, we've waited. We kept being told that this would never happen. This, to me, this is me, only me. This is Jetson era type thought process. We thought that stuff like this would never happen. Okay. So when you are wanting to change your body composition through like losing inches under your bust, your waist, and your hips, that's what this does, but it's doing it from the inside out. It also is helping with insulin sensitivity. That's what this extract does. Now, it's being marketed for sports nutrition so that you can use it as a pre-workout and then go get a better workout. It's not a pre-workout where you get the I can't remember the name of the ingredient that makes your lips tingle. You guys might know what that is. I don't remember. I should remember. My husband would like be Kirsten. Come on. But because we do have a pre-workout real one that does that. But this doesn't make you feel anything like that. But it does help with insulin sensitivity, and it targets that visceral belly fat, that visceral fat that's around your organs in your trunk area. Okay. So the answer to her question is indirectly, it can help your kidneys. Indirectly. But that's just because you're helping your insulin resistance. So do you have kidney stones? Do you have kidney stress? Do you have whatever? Let's deal with the trunk of the tree. Every single day I come on here and I say, the trunk of the tree is called insulin resistance. That's the name of the trunk of the tree. And you need the axe to get to the base of the tree. You've got to get to the core piece of the puzzle as to what's happening, and everything else branches out from the trunk of the tree. So you have PCOS, let's deal with your insulin resistance. You have type 2 diabetes, that is insulin resistance, but you could have done that 10, 20 years ago if they would have pulled a fasting insulin on you. You have leaky gut, let's deal with your insulin resistance. I mean, through the gut, we got to deal with your gut now, we got to heal it and seal it, but insulin resistance caused that. It's causing high blood pressure and heart disease and gout and type 2 diabetes and kidney issues. And that's why my dad progressed from pre-type 2, type 2, insulin dependent type 2, heart issues, kidney dialysis, dead at 63. This is the progression. And he was this close from losing toes. Because this is what happens. This is not, it's the craziest thing ever that this is not a terminal diagnosis until it is. Like, you don't need a team of docs. Now, I'm not one, so I'm not telling you to not go to your doctor, and I'm not telling you to not take scripts. But I am telling you that I have many, many, many clients now that have, they said, I'm going to be responsible for my own health. I'm taking back my own health. I'm going to become my own advocate. The information they're giving me is trash. I'm not going to listen to that trash of, you can have 45 grams of carbohydrates at every single meal, even though you're a type 2 diabetic. All you have to do is increase the dose of your med, add a med, or go from a pill to an injection. Every single one of those sentences has been told to me by you. Like, this is insanity. That we are allowing this to be true for our health, and it is stealing from you. If you've never ever had anybody rob you before, now is what's happening to you. You're being robbed of your energy, robbed of your function, robbed of your everything. Like, if you have to be, your resources, your money, your time at doctor's appointments, my dad was completely robbed of his grandchildren because he was dead at 63. My children were stolen from. Their grandpa was gone. Their Italian grandpa, who, by the way, would have been the most colorful. You have no idea. My father was the son of an immigrant who would, in Minneapolis, circa 19, I don't know, in the 40s, when my dad was a little boy, he was from Italy, and he would go and buy the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve day because then he could get a deal, and he'd drag it home, and all of those old world things. He becoming from Italy, where they gardened everywhere, every inch of whatever. I grew up in the suburb where we didn't have a normal garden. Like half the yard was the garden because you had to grow your bell peppers and your tomatoes, and you didn't grow anything else other than peppers and tomatoes until my sister got old enough. Like, I'm just saying, like, he was a very eccentric man with a lot of heritage, and that heritage was stolen. Like, this is so ridiculous. So this is why I want to talk about this. That's the answer to the orange pixie stick. It's an indirect help, but let me give you some real help. Okay. Like, if you're in the process of kidney, whatever, and you need to be supported through supplementation or food, let's talk about that now. Okay. So when you are talking about the different foods, let's see if I can find what I had on that. I thought I did. Hold on. Yep. Foods that will support your kidney health. Leafy greens. Okay. Garlic. It's amazing that my dad had kidney issues because he ate a lot of garlic. So much garlic. Cauliflower or cruciferous vegetables. Blueberries, which are rich in antioxidants. And olive oil, which again, that should have really fixed him because he ate so much olive oil. Healthy fats without overburdening your kidneys. So again, getting rid of the toxic seed oils, you've got to throw them away. Your inner system cannot handle that junk. That is so chemically altered in order to clean it. It's just ridiculous. You can't do that. So I always tell people, don't even feel bad. Throw that vegetable oil and that canola oil and that soy, just throw it in the trash and say, arrivederci, see you later. Don't even feel bad about it. It's only pennies and it's not good for anybody. So it doesn't matter. And start eating things like olive oil and coconut oil and avocado oil, butter, like get some grass-fed butter going, right? Things like that. But those would be the foods that would really help with kidney health. Now, when it comes to the different supplementation, let me share with you what would really help. Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give you 4. Okay. Hold on. I got to see if anybody's saying anything. Your husband's primary care provider didn't tell us he had chronic kidney disease until I questioned some lab results. How is it even possible? How is that even possible? I just can't even. I do not understand. Thank you for sharing that, Terry. Every day, I feel like I wake up every day and I go, what is happening? Because I get to talk to you and you tell me your stories. And I'm just like, you know what? I know I need to stop questioning, but like, how did we get here? But when you grow up in the United States of America, you think that your healthcare system is good. You think that, things are set up there for you and not against you and all of these things. And your doctor is next to God and what they say goes. And, Doc Baker from Little House on the Prairie, and, you didn't question him. So why would you question your doctor? And my biggest wake-up call, even though I started this journey before that, probably my biggest wake-up call was in 2018 when my brother ended up having a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery, and he had a stroke on the table. Now, he had drug use prior to this, okay? So for 2 years prior to his passing in 2020, and he was only 60 when he passed, he was in a lot of different places. I'm in Minnesota. So he was in ICUs and emergency rooms and LTACs and group homes and nursing homes. And he was in everything that you could any part of the medical system or the adult care system. He was in all of it. And as a family, we were his advocates for a vulnerable adult. We were his tribe. And I went into it thinking, well, we live in Minnesota, baby, home of the Mayo Clinic. That's what I thought in my head. No, that meant nothing. That meant nothing. Supposedly, we have an amazing health. No. At the same time, we dealt with my mother with dementia. No. If you're not your own advocate, like, seriously, wake up. You're going to have to be your own advocate and figure this out. That is absolutely criminal. That what she said her doctor, her husband's primary care physician, did not tell us that he had chronic kidney disease until I questioned some lab results. What is going on? Anyway, let's wrap up with this. So the 4 different supplements that can help you. And if you want a cart for these 4, just send me the word in my inbox, kidney. Send me the word kidney and I will send you a cart for these 4, okay? Magnesium helps lower blood sugar, reduces blood pressure, and prevents calcium buildup in the kidneys. Most people are deficient, especially if you are stressed. And this is a phenomenal magnesium triple blend. I take 2 of them at night, every single night, because it will promote sleep. However, it's also to help lower your blood pressure, lower your blood sugar, reduce your blood pressure, and prevent calcium buildup in your kidneys. And most people are deficient, especially if you are stressed. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, omega-3s, powerful anti-inflammatory. I know that there's controversy around omega-3s. I get it. I really do believe that it's because the processing most all of the time of omega-3s is rather trashy. And so you're probably getting rancid omega-3s on the shelf. I actually really believe that because I know a lot of you send me information on this. But when you have quality control that is different than everybody else, you get a different product that can actually be helpful. So powerful anti-inflammatory shown in studies to slow kidney decline and support blood vessel health. Slow kidney decline and support blood vessel health. And if you are buying a fish oil right now from a drugstore or a mart or a warehouse type place, and it is not wild caught, you need to rethink where you're getting your omega-3s from. Because if you're not going to eat farmed raised fish in your home, why would you put it and make your liver deal with it? You have to have wild caught, in my opinion. Number 3, vitamin D. Vitamin D K2, critical for kidney and immune function. Low D is common in those with insulin resistance and kidney stress. Isn't that interesting? Now, the vitamin D3, the K2 that I have is actually sourced from mushrooms. It is not synthetic, and it's super inexpensive. It's like 30 cents a day. Like 1 bottle is a 90-day supply. I mean, it's ridiculous. You didn't even know that you could get such quality for 30 cents a day. That's crazy. CoQ10 is the number 4. So I'll put these 4 in a cart if you want these today. Protects the kidneys from oxidative damage, supports energy production in kidney cells, and it helps to lower blood pressure naturally. CoQ10. And if you are on an STATIN, you need to be on a CoQ10 because it's depleting your CoQ10. Protects kidneys from oxidative damage, supports energy production in kidney cells, and helps lower blood pressure naturally. So those would be the 4 in the cart. Just send me kidney. Christy, I will try to contact you when I am off. Everybody else, you're going to try to get it into my, you can say it on Facebook because it'll stay there. On Instagram and TikTok, it doesn't stay there because it just doesn't. I don't know. Technology. The orange stick, Christy, I can also send you that if you want to. That is a clinical dose of an extract. That is a fat burner. And I know that technically I'm probably, that's a lame way for me to say what it does, but it's a thermogenic. It's literally heating up and helping your cells to release fat. And so this is what's happening. Linda, I will get that to you. So what's happening is I'm going to tell you the external of what's happening with people that I have customers. So Megda, she did 90 days on the fat burner and she lost 3.5 inches under her bust. Because I should have my measuring tape here by me, 2 inches off of her waist and 1 inch off of her hips. Now it's happening from the inside out. And this is very important to understand. Okay. Now, my recommendation with the orange pixie stick, and you can do that all by itself, go for 90 days straight and then take 30 days off. Measure yourself at the beginning, under your bust, your waist, and then your hips. Because I actually didn't even believe that this was going to do anything for me. I'm kind of skeptical, I guess. And so, Linda, I see that. I will send you that. And I could not believe the results. And then many of you started sending me answers like, I had a visceral scan done. I had an in-body scan. It showed my visceral fat reduction. Somebody else would say, after 30 days, I've lost 1 inch in these areas. And so then they'd grab 2 more boxes and do the 90 days. So you can decide how you want to do that. Just make sure, Jody, it's good to see you. You're totally fine. Just make sure that as a new customer, you register with your name. Okay. So if I send you a cart, go to the top of my website and there's a little person icon, Head and Shoulders. Register with your name. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Number one, that's how you can get free shipping over $139 should you ever place an order that's over $139. Otherwise, I see people place a very large order and they checked out as a guest and then they had to pay shipping, but they didn't know. So I always am like, I want you to understand that. Number two, should you choose to go on your own wellness journey and really give yourself permission to do this, like when I talk about the trio, the 3 supplements that help with insulin sensitivity, I talk about the gut reset, the gut primer and the probiotic, I talk about the orange pixie. People are doing different pieces of this. Well, they just started a customer campaign for those who are registered. Every month that you purchase $150 or more, when you hit the 3rd month, they're going to take off $75. Like, who else is paying you to take care of yourself? Nobody. We're out there wanting insurance to cover this. Well, that's not going to happen, but you can get paid for your wellness journey. You can get paid to take care of yourself. That's a phenomenal opportunity, and I don't want people to miss out. So whether or not you ever do that, doesn't matter. You have the information. So go to the top of the page, person icon, little Head and Shoulders, register with your name as a customer. And then you will get all of the VIP benefits of being a registered customer. And that's great. So I just wanted to give you that. So I will go ahead and send you, I'll do that one too. And I can, just to let you know, my business, I can do business in the United States, Canada, and the Dominican Republic. So just to let you know, otherwise, I'm not yet like in Europe or Asia. So that'll be another day, right? If you have any questions, I want you to know I do phone consults. If you need somebody to help you decide what you need, what's best for you, let's make sure you're not buying something you don't need. And I mean that for real. I did a phone consult yesterday. It's like, okay, sounds like you got this covered over here. Let's just focus over here. Okay. Because my goal is to make sure that you feel like you've been served well, that you have somebody you can lock arms with and actually journey with you. Okay. That's my goal as, somebody in the wellness business. Does berberine help? You know what? Berberine does help. I have never used it and it's not in my line at all. So I've never sold it. I've never used it. Some people get benefits from it. The other side of that is I also have people that come to me and say they've been doing berberine and it wasn't enough. So they needed to just add on the layered pieces that I talk about. So I feel like everybody is different. Every person's body is different in how it's responding, and every person's journey is at a different space. So like, even when we talk about like, if we ever talk about the autism spectrum, there's an insulin resistance spectrum, and it depends on where you're at. So like yesterday, my phone consult, I said, listen, you need to understand the best position that you are in right now, because you're at the beginning where you can actually, this is going to be an easier journey for you than some of my other clients they're really in a pickle. And if you ever get too far down the road, there is a too far down the road. Like if you're on a blood thinner, you can't take a lot of herbs. You're kind of blocked in, you're boxed in. So there are pieces like that do happen. But anyway, so if you have any questions, let me know. Get into my inbox. Look at my profiles, whatever platform you're on. I have my site. that has a phone number. You can text me and say, I was on your live. I need to either have a phone consult, or will you put a cart together for me? Will you send me a cart? I'm interested in, like, I got a message this morning from somebody, you know who you are. I want to know the gut primer and the fat burner. Those were the two things she wanted in a cart. Okay. So we can do this and customize and help you. I'll be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I just hope you have such a terrific day. And we will see you then. All right. Bye, you guys.